This is the Mariners POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the Seattle Mariners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Is that what it's supposed to feel like?
I guess so.
Is that what winning baseball games supposed to feel like?
I don't remember. So it's I guess, but I really don't remember. It's pretty new, and it's like that Wicked song, "What Is This Feeling So Sudden and New?" Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
I always
Chris
knew
Crawford.
I'd bring.
Wow,
I
pulls
always
out a
bring.
Wicked reference. That's how high we are right now. Let's go.
Exactly.
This is Mariners POSTCAST. I'm Anderson Hirst. That's Christopher Crawford to my left. We just won a baseball game. God, it feels good. We just won a baseball game where Cal Raleigh is the only one who didn't get a hit.
Yeah.
That is weird. That is weird.
Yeah.
Oh, man. We just won a baseball game where we had a good starting pitching performance.
Exactly.
So many things that Mariners baseball has not done recently. So we just won a game where we came through in a late inning situation with runners in scoring position.
Huge.
Crawford, what are your original thoughts on this? We'll get to Castillo's performance in a second. I want to talk about the offense, kind of what looks good to you, and then a couple bullpen decisions here and there just based on the rest of the series. But overall, got to be a good win for you.
Oh, such a good win. And so nice to see. I think the last time they won the first game of a series was against the Nationals. I believe that's the case. And before that, there were some, issues. They have the sweep against San Diego. They obviously won the first game in that series, but they have just not gotten off to good starts in series. And this was an excellent start, literally and figuratively. It was an excellent start from Luis Castillo, and it's an excellent start to this series. And this is what's so nice again about doing these daily shows is that we can just kind of ignore a little bit what's been going on for the past week, how they have been just an absolute crap factory of a baseball team. We can push that to a side.
Yeah.
They played one of their most complete games in a while, probably since that Nationals game, really.
Yeah.
Since that game, there's been a lot of shaky baseball, to say the least, but it wasn't shaky today. It was not a perfect offensive effort to begin the game, but we love what we saw from them from the seventh inning on, and that matters. Oh, does that ever matter? And we'll talk about that. But it's just nice to get a win after what seems like the longest losing streak that I can remember in a long time. And I know they've won some games, but there's just been so much dread and icky. It's so nice to celebrate something good.
Yeah. There's so many positive signs. First of all, let's start with Luis Castillo. We can kind of go from there. Don't look now. He's had a really good last 6 starts, and maybe had one bad one in the
previous one wasn't great. It wasn't great,
right? And then the Astros one was not his best, but he still battled. Yeah,
yes.
But overall, I think, especially with Wu kind of coming back down to earth recently. Is it weird that I feel the most confident with Luis Castillo on the mound? It's almost like back to 2022 days.
No, I don't think it's weird at all because you just take a look at what he has done. He's been the most consistent pitcher for the Seattle Mariners this year. You take a look by ERA, 3.60 in March. I know that's only, or 3.60. In March. That's one start, but it's still then 3.82, then 3.27 coming into today. It goes down a little bit. He's been their most consistent starter. And really, we've talked about this a lot, that it's really been just one bad pitch. For Luis Castillo, it's just two. Two mistakes that he makes to Nolan Jones. And then Steven Kwan, of all people, he makes a mistake too as well. Not exactly known for his power, but maybe the P&W return was exciting for him. Maybe seeing Oregon State play in the World Series today got him a little bit going today. But outside of those two pitches, his command wasn't great. He issues 3 walks, but I always felt like even with the control not being great, I felt like he was in control throughout. And hopefully that makes sense. I never felt like the runners that were being put on base, I never felt like there was going to be that blow up inning. His stuff was too good tonight. And it was so good to see the better slider. That slider in his last outing Sure, it wasn't as good today as it was against Minnesota. We'll never maybe see any slider that good, not thrown by Matt Brash again. That was one of the most impressive sliders that I've seen in a long time. But I thought Luis Castillo pitched really solid baseball today. And I was so disappointed he wasn't able to get the win. And again, wins and loss for pitchers is a dumb stat, but he deserved a W today. He deserved a W today. But he is one of the main reasons that they win this game, because he keeps them more than keeps them in the game. He pitches excellent outside of 2 solo homers, and he allows that offensive explosion to matter in the 7th inning.
Yeah, and like wins and losses are a bad stat for pitchers in terms of like evaluating if they're good pitchers, but in terms of like being a part of a team and feeling like, hey, I contributed to the team winning today, like that is something. And these guys, even though they have their individual jobs, baseball is about as individual of a team sport as it gets. They still rely on each other. It's like, hey, my guys picked me up.
Sure.
I contributed to the win today, like I said. So yeah, and I like what you said about him being. His control wasn't elite, but he was in control for most of the game, because a lot of the walks he was issuing wasn't that he couldn't find the strike zone. It's that he got squeezed a couple times on some close calls, or it was a walk where it's like, hey, I'd rather you walk this guy than throw it in the strike zone and have him do damage, aka to Jose Ramirez. So it's I think a really good pitching performance from him, and it just shows how consistent he is, man. Like I like what No God said about he feels so close to putting up a real serious elite run. I think we're going to get back to that point for over the summer. And if you look at his career, he starts off a little iffy, but he gets going during the summer. So which is weird for pitchers because it's kind of usually the opposite.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know, he's been fantastic. And I think he doesn't get nearly enough credit for how good he's been since that trade. I know that some of that has to do with the fact that there are so many other good starters on this team that you kind of forget. And I know that some of that has to do with the fact that Seattle Mariner fans, and the Mariner fans are not alone in this, but there are fans who take contracts a little too seriously and say, oh, this guy makes the most money, he has to be perfect. This guy is the guy who...
I think it's all sports.
Oh, absolutely. It's all sports. Absolutely. And in baseball, maybe a little bit more because those salaries are guaranteed, and good for them. They should be guaranteed. But I think there's a little bit more expectation for guys like Luis Castillo, and sometimes maybe we don't appreciate quite how good he's been since they made that trade in 2022.
Completely agree. I mean, if you want to go right here, CG Long 424 hot take: Luis Castillo for unsung hero didn't get the dub. I think he did get the win. Gave up back to back. Oh wait, no, he didn't. That's right, because they. That's right. It was tied by the time he left the game, and by the time we get to unsung hero, everyone's going to forget the start. That's true. I mean, that's a shout. If you let us know what you guys think for unsung hero, there's a lot of options today, because I'm going down this offensive 1 through 9. No pinch hitters today. Oh my God, it felt so good. Great game from JP Crawford, 3 hits. I'd say good game from Julio, 2 hits. Great game from Polo, 2 extra base hits from the right side of the
huge.
Oh my God, he looks good again, which is I think it's not coincidence that this is the game that your offense kind of explodes, and it's like, oh, Polanco being that guy makes a big difference for this team.
Sure. No, it's massive. It is massive to see him look comfortable. And it kind of goes back to what I was saying a couple episodes ago, that you were starting to see Polanco look a little bit more comfortable. And I think he's starting to get back into the routine. He's starting to get back into feeling confident, playing every single day instead of platooning him. I think that's massive. Like, even if you took a big hit with him hitting right-handed, it's probably worth it to get him going hitting left-handed, because that's where Jorge Polanco is going to make his bread. That's where Jorge Polanco is going to make his living, is hitting left-handed, hopefully hitting near the top of the lineup, because it's justified for him hitting near the top of the lineup. And as Matthew brings up here, 8 guys reach base. You know, Big Dumper doesn't get a hit, draws 2 massive walks, especially the walk in the 7th inning. I thought that was one of the biggest at-bats of the game, because you get that lead runner on, and then Polanco gets that double, and then they bring in the reliever, and Randy Rosarina just scorches a baseball into left field to give you that 3-2 lead. But none of that happens without, well, some of it might happen, but it all starts with Big Dumper drawing that free pass. And you're seeing pitchers pitch him so carefully right now, so carefully, which is why it's so important, and this is an obvious point, is obvious, The guys in front of him and the guys behind him have to get the job done because he's going to be able to get his free passes. It won't shock me if he draws he's already drawing a ton of walks, just a smorgasbord of walks over these next few weeks because pitchers just don't want to pitch this dude right now. With the run that he's on for homers, it's big. And just, I love the complete effort from the offense today. Like, seeing so many guys reach twice, seeing Ben Williamson pick up a couple of hits, who finally won't be my unsung hero with a 2-hit game. It was
he almost deserves it still, though. Come on, keep the run going.
It's great to see a double from him too. Like, we are starting to see him get the ball into the gaps a little bit more lately.
Agreed.
That's been really nice to see. Today it was down the left field line, but just he's feeling more comfortable. The only guy who doesn't reach twice drives in the run with Cole Young, and that was a huge RBI.
Great hit, by the way.
Awesome job by him. And, you know, the offense has struggled to score runs. It hasn't struggled to get hits lately. I believe this is 4 out of 5 games where they've picked up at least 10 hits.
I think you're right.
So that's a pretty solid number. The big difference here, I'm not saying 4 for 17 isn't great, but 4 for 17 with runners in scoring position gets the job done.
Yeah.
Especially if a couple of those hits are with a couple of guys on and you can score a couple of runs. If you can pick up 4 hits with runners in scoring position, you are going to win the majority of the time. 4 for 17 is like a 248 average, 248, 246, something around those lines.
I'd take that, honestly, for a whole season.
100%. Today's day and age, especially because you get pitched so carefully. And a 230 average now is an average. So I will take 4 for 17 every day. How many 1 for 12s and 1 for 10s and 0 for 7s have we seen as of late for these guys with runners in scoring position? I'm just really encouraged by what I saw tonight, and I am choosing to ignore all the bull crap that I saw the week before. And focus on the positive that if you can play like you did tonight, you have a chance to be a really good baseball team. Real quick. One thing we got to point out, the Cleveland Guardians stink right now. Holy crap.
I was going to ask you about that. How much of this is they're playing a team at a bad time, or a good time, I should say, for bad time for them? And then how much of this is the offense really breaking out?
Let's talk about trade coffee, and then I'll tell you.
Okay, answer. Good little tease there. Okay, let's trade coffee. It is. I like it. Let's be real. Coffee isn't just a drink; it's a ritual. God, is it a ritual? Yes, a lifeline. The thing that gets you from half asleep to fully functioning. And if it's that essential, why settle for anything less than amazing? That's where trade coffee comes in.
Whether gearing up for back-to-back meetings, shuffling kids back and forth to activities, or tackling an endless to-do list, your morning sets the tone for it all. That's why it should start with the perfect cup of coffee crafted just for you. Enter Trade.
Trade is the #1 coffee destination in the U.S., delivering fresh, incredible coffee from over 50 of the country's top roasters. Whether you're a cold brew fan or a pour-over purist, they've got the roast you'll love. I personally, I'm a big kind of espresso type of guy. I like the kind of smaller quantities, but then just pop those in. I mean, I guess it goes with my European look that you say I look like. So I got to lean into the vibe a little bit. So I like going with the pure espresso shots, but Trade Coffee does it all. So if you like those or like something else, they're a good way to go.
And right now, Trade is exclusively offering our customers 50% off your 1-month trial at drinktrade.com/lockedonmlb. That's TRADE.com/lockedonmlb for 50% off your 1-month trial.
All right, the NBA playoffs, should I say NBA finals, are in full swing. Yikes. And every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action.
FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live, and apparently can pay off officials. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win
Wish I could pay officials.
I'm just sad. I'm sorry, FanDuel. You're great. You provide such a great way to stay in the game. but I'm just so disappointed by what's happened.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you this, what I would be looking to bet on tomorrow, I would be, if you can bet on something for Julio to hit a homer tomorrow, I'd be looking to do that. He just got under a couple tonight. I think he's just right there. I would be willing to bet the over on Cleveland Guardians, strikeout.
Whoa, hello.
Yeah, it's been a while. I'm an old man. Yeah. But yeah, those would be the bets I'd be looking to make. And I just love that FanDuel keeps you in the game no matter who is playing.
If you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. And if it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Cleveland.
Okay,
they've been the Guardians for like 7 years. By the way, just a little behind the scenes, I call them the Oakland Athletics when I'm writing for NBC every single time.
They're Sacra Vegasland to me, so Sacramento, Vegas, and Oakland. They're all three.
Oh, move the team back, man. Just build the right stadium in Oakland. That's where they belong.
There's a chance that might happen. Anyways, this is not Locked On MLB. This is the Mariners postcast. I'm Anderson Hirst. That's Christopher Crawford. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. Finally, we get to talk about a Mariners win. I have a couple questions for you. The one we teased in the break is going to be my first one. So, and then I'm going to ask you a little bit about Dan Wilson's decision-making here. Sure. Even in a win, you could still look at some things and see if there's a way you would have done it differently. But first of all, how much of this is kind of an offensive breakout? How much of this is a Guardians team that is not pitching the ball very well right now and really only has one, maybe two good hitters in the lineup?
It's a really good question. And, there's some talented guys on this team. Like, Jose Ramirez will once again be in the MVP conversation.
He's the most underrated player in the MLB. I'm saying it right now.
Yeah. Just don't say the MLB. That's not how that works. It's just underrated in MLB. The MLB is the Major League Baseball.
The Major League Baseball.
The Major League of Baseball. The O is silent. It's not a good team. It is not a good team whatsoever. Now, Gavin Williams isn't a bad pitcher. He has pretty good swing and miss stuff, and I was pretty impressed that they only struck out one time against him. Like, he is a guy who can miss bats pretty good.
Yeah.
And they have some talented relievers as well, but they're not pitching very well. Like, Tyler Herron really struggled tonight. Hunter Gaddis really struggled tonight. Somebody asked about how Colby Allard was a first-round pick. Left-handed. If you're left-handed, if you throw over 90 miles per hour. But, he was a guy people really liked. But this is not a good baseball team. This is a team that is playing right around as poorly as the Seattle Mariners, maybe a little bit better, if we're being honest here. You take
lately,
a look at that 35-33 record. That is not indicative of how they've played as of late. I believe they're 10-16 over their last 26.
I wish that was ours.
They're getting the Cleveland Guardians at the very best time to get them right now. So don't want to take away any credit from the win whatsoever, but there's no denying that the Seattle Mariners are playing a team that is not exactly on their best foot right now.
Feels like the Mariners should be in the AL Central with all those kind of mediocre teams, and then Tigers, Mariners switch place. I don't know. Anyways. But I think, like what you said, getting him at the right time, because I almost feel like with the Baltimore Orioles, they were kind of hot coming back, and they were all underperforming for the entire year. I think everyone was kind of waiting for them to break out a little bit. So I almost think the opposite situation there, where you got them at a bad time, a team that's way more talented than its record is, that is just started to get hot and figuring themselves out. So just putting it in perspective a little bit, but I like what you said there. I want to ask you a little bit. First, I want to make a comment about Dan Wilson's lineup construction, because I think we've, gone back and forth talking about how, even when Polo was struggling, he was hitting the 2-hole every single game. You were seeing Cal Raleigh not in one of the top 3 batters, so we didn't have a guaranteed at bat in the first inning. There were a lot of things that were questionable. I'm looking at the batting lineup right now, and I know it's not everything. I'm not the guy that's going to complain about every lineup that gets posted, but I love the way it's constructed right now. You got JP, who is having, I think, a better year than he did in 2023 at this point, because it's more indicative to what of a type of player he is. I think he was more like going for slug a little too much in 23 and probably got a little jumpy with that in 2024, which is what led to his bad year. This is just him being an on-base machine, but then he's jumping and ambushing when he can, and he's having big hits and big moments. Then you got Julio, and I almost think you have two leadoff hitters. It's kind of weird. Two guys that can set the table at any point. If you always look at Julio's hits, they always come either at the beginning of an inning or with nobody on, which I think, like, some people aren't for RISP. Sometimes that's just not for everyone, and it's totally fine. But he sets the table so well because then he can score on something from that someone else hits. Then you get Cal in the 3-hole, Polo in the 4-hole, and Rosarena in the 5-hole. And I think that top 5, it as constructed right now, and especially the way they're all playing right now, I think is a good top 5 of a lineup. Rowdy Tellez has started to do better lately.
Yeah.
Dom Canzone, can he hit? Can he hit? He's had a couple really good games in a row. We'll see a larger sample size. I'm as big of a hater as there is, and I'm even starting to be like, whoa, was I wrong about him? And then Ben Williamson and Cole Young, the youngsters at the bottom of the order, which I like. Not a lot of pressure, just kind of do your stuff, get on when you can, set the table for the top of the lineup. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on that lineup? Because I think that 1 through 9 is as good as I've seen it all year.
Yeah, probably. I mean, there's still areas that I think they can upgrade, but if we're just talking about what they have now,
that's kind of what I'm saying. Not like positions to upgrade. I'm talking about constructing the people that you have in the right spot.
Right. Yeah, I don't have any issue with it. I mean, I guess the only thing for me would be, I kind of like Julio better in the 3 than the 2. I've just seen Julio struggle in the 2 a little too much. Like, even with the struggles he had as a leadoff hitter, that's still, if you take a look at the stats, that's kind of where he's been best. But he's been really good from the 3-hole as well. And I do like, I know some people bring up his runners and scoring position stats this year, and they weren't spectacular last year. If you take a look at his overall body of work, he's been okay there. And I still want him getting more at bats with like a chance to do damage. And especially right now where the hits are falling in, like the double wasn't crushed, but that's 3 extra base hits in the last 2 games. That's wonderful to see. Slugging 428 right now, which is an above average mark. I kind of like the Crawford Polanco Julio a little bit better, but this is fine. And if Julio's comfortable and if a Rosarena is comfortable, by the way, another really good game from Randy Rosarena,
man. He's starting to heat up.
Starting to heat up again. I joked about this on Blue Sky that God is tired of watching you struggle when you let Dom Canzone get a hit of a left-hander. That's when God is kind of like, all right.
I'm going to feed you guys a bone a little bit.
We've done a lot. Let's just give you that Dom Canzone. And he didn't exactly clobber it, but it's still a hit off a left-hander.
Yeah.
It'd be wonderful to see if he's legit. Get well soon, Luke Raley, is what I will say still in regards to Dom Canzone, who's apparently starting a rehab assignment either tonight or pretty
tomorrow.
soon. Yeah. Okay. So that's wonderful to see, and that will certainly help with the lineup. But to answer your question, I think the lineup construction right now, and lineup construction only means so much. The players have to get it done, right?
Totally.
Like that's what ultimately matters. I think quietly, Dan Wilson has done a pretty good job with lineup construction this year, and I think right now it's probably at its best.
Yeah, I think I agree with you there. Just a couple nitpicks here and there, depending on. And I think it's matchup based as well. You can shift those around. You don't have to have the same 1 through 9 every single night. So I just liked the way it looked tonight, and it obviously worked for them. Really the other question I have regarding Dan Wilson tonight was the use of Matt Brash and Andres Munoz. Because in the 8th inning, you had gone up by 4 at that point, I believe. Let's double check. Yes, you at top 8, you were up by 4. You go to Matt Brash, and he had already brought him up. I think Goldsmith talked about it in the broadcast. Like, you don't want to bring him up and sit him down and then not use him. So your thoughts on using Brash, but then not using Munoz, who hasn't pitched since June 9th and only twice in the last 7 days.
So I go back and forth on this one. I do think that if Matt Brash gets hot, you've got to use him the overwhelming majority of the time, right? Okay. Because you're probably not going to have him get hot and then have him get hot on back-to-back days. I just don't think you're going to be able to do that. With Munoz, I'll say this. We are maybe a little bit blinded by the fact that he struggled so much with his layoff, you know?
Yeah.
And there is a thin line between overuse and not using enough because, I mean, his command looked really bad after those days off, really bad. So here's what I'll say. I'm okay with not using Andres Munoz today. They have to use Andres Munoz tomorrow. Have to. If they're up by 15, if they're down by 15, they have to use Andres Munoz tomorrow because you can't get into this funk of not using your closer and not knowing what kind of command you're going to get from him. So I could have justified using him pretty easily, but knowing that now you have that opportunity to use him Saturday and Sunday, I think is worth it. I think it's worth it to have that high leverage option in whatever situation he's going to pitch in. But in my humble estimation, maybe it's not even that humble, you got to pitch Andres Munoz tomorrow. He has to pitch tomorrow.
Yeah, it's a balance thing for me. Like at first glance, I was like, I would rather just him pitch here. And sure. I remembered what happened when he didn't pitch in a long time, a couple weeks ago, and then he came out and blew his got his first earned runs of the year. So like it's fresh in my mind, and maybe I put too much correlation to those two things. But I also think like the way they use him is a little too waiting for the perfect moment, if that makes sense.
I definitely agree with that. And when you play as crappy as the Mariners do, and in my head I had a different word than crappy, I'll be honest with you there. When you have the funk that the Mariners had, using him for perfect situations just goes out the window. Like you've just got to make sure that he is fresh for sure, but also at his best. And he clearly wasn't at his best for those two games against Minnesota. Just clearly wasn't anywhere near the Andres Munoz that the Seattle Mariners need him to be. And since that series, Andres Munoz has looked more than fine.
Yeah.
But he hasn't pitched enough for us to really know he's got to be used tomorrow. It doesn't matter if they win by 108 or if they say the game's only going 2 innings. Well, then he's got to pitch the first or the second inning. Like he has to go. You have to make sure that your closer is in, similar to Jorge Polanco, but different, that creature of routine. And you want Andres Munoz to be at his best, and being at his best is a guy who's being used 3 or 4 times a week.
Yeah, and I think it's more forgivable not to use him when you're up by 4 runs than when you're maybe down by 2 or just or a tie game. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you're like waiting for the save situation, quote unquote. Mm-hmm. So that one is like you still have a chance to win this game. And today it worked out because you didn't need to use him, quote unquote. And now you can use him in the next 2 and hopefully get 2 saves from him or whatever. But waiting for the perfect moment for him, and I think they did this the last time out. I forget. I think it was against the Orioles actually, where they brought him out in the tie game. Or was it?
It was the Diamondbacks. He got brought in for the tie game, and he looked great.
Yeah, he did
great.
So maybe they're learning a little bit more on that front. Yeah. Right. So I just don't want to get to a point where if you're down by 1, Dan Wilson's waiting to use Andres Munoz for when you have the lead. So that's kind of the biggest thing I'm going for here. I probably agree with you that he has to pitch tomorrow no matter what, even if you're up by 10 runs. So, all right, guys, really appreciate you hanging out with us tonight. It's been a good one. Finally, another Mariners win. Let's go get the series win tomorrow. 6:40 first pitch. Who do we got tomorrow? Is it George Kirby again?
I don't remember.
I think it is George Kirby.
Let's hope so. I'm still upset about the Thunder game, if I'm being completely honest with you. But, like, hopefully Kirby can just back up what he did, like a semblance of what he did against the Angels, right? Like, if he is that guy, then he can dominate. And it is.
Yes.
George Kirby against Tanner Bibee. Not Bibby.
It's Bibee.
Bibee.
Yep. And he's probably their best starter right now. Probably.
Yep. By the way, real quick, and I know Ty and Colby will talk about this, because on Monday they'll do their show. But the decision to send down Logan Evans means that Logan Gilbert is almost assuredly starting Monday, and that is wonderful news. news.
Yes, that is great news. Hopefully they're not rushing him back like it seems like they did with Bryce Miller, but no, I like how they did.
I did talk to somebody who said that his bullpen today, or maybe it was yesterday, looked spectacular.
Okay.
So here's hoping.
Great. All right. Well, some good news to look forward to after a good Mariners win. Let's get back on the winning train, guys. Go win the series tomorrow, and maybe we can talk about a possible sweep after tomorrow night. So good to talk to you guys. Thanks for hanging out with us. This has been your Mariners Postcast. We'll talk to you tomorrow night after the game.